All right, welcome back to the shop. So today I'm doing a video on changing out the compressor on my M1161. So there's two compressors that these came with. One was the original one, which is what mine had, and then one was an upgraded one that they put in the iCube update kits. And that iCube one was a lot quieter. So we did some research on this. Royce called up and actually talked to the guys at ExtremeAire about the compressors. And they have one called the ExtremeAire Magnum compressor. It's 24 volt. And it's supposed to be a lot quieter than the original compressor, and it's way faster. It's not quite twice as fast, but it's quite a bit. So anyways, this video didn't quite go exactly as planned when I was filming it, so that's why I'm doing a new intro. I'm already done with it, and you'll see how it goes in the video. You have to watch all the way through to make sure that you see how this thing ended. But in the end run, I got it quieter, and if you watch the whole video, you will be able to see how I did that. So it's a lot quieter and it's a lot faster, so it was definitely a good upgrade. So here on the M1161, you can see that the air compressor is mounted down here under this tin work. On the 1163, it's mounted in the rear on the left side. So these things they're notoriously loud, and they're kind of slow as well. So the compressor that's in there is a Magnum Extreme compressor. It's 24 volt, 3/4 horsepower, and it delivers something like a 1.5 CFM at 100 once you get to 100 psi. I don't know what the free flow CFM is, but the thing is, when you on this truck here, if my air tanks are empty or near empty and I want to go somewhere, I turn on that compressor, start the truck up, turn the compressor on. I could drive all the way to the post office and back, and that thing's still compressing air, and it's really annoying how loud it is. It's actually kind of embarrassing. When I'm driving down the street, if I go to pass somebody up, walking down the street, I'll shut the compressor off because it makes it sound like a rattle trap kind of. They did come out with a quieter compressor when they did the iCube update, and I don't know if it's a new generation compressor or if it's only quieter because they changed the air filter. If you can see the air filter in here, I don't know if you can tell, these just had like a sponge type air filter on them. The ones that came in the iCube update had a filter that looked like this. It's smaller, it's a little different than that. According to the guys over at Outback ExtremeAire, or whatever the company is that makes these, they said that filter will make it quieter. And then also, from what the engineers there said, to help dissipate some of the sound, to mount it on horse stall matting. So I bought this, I think it's 5/8 stick horse stall matting. It's really dense, pretty thick rubber. They said that the mounts that are on it currently, they actually knew the vehicle when he called, talked to them about it. They said don't even bother with the rubber mounts that they have it mounted on now. I said just get rid of those and use the rubber horse stall matting, and that's going to help with the sound a lot as well. But those ones are a lot quieter. You have to give them that. But they're still kind of slow. They aren't the fastest compressor in the world. So we did a little bit of research, and Royce actually called and talked to them. And they have this compressor. It's an ExtremeAire Magnum, 24 volt. So the old one's a 3/4 horsepower electric motor. This one's a 1.5 horsepower electric motor. It'll deliver 2.6 CFM at 100, once it gets to 100 psi. And at 0 psi of free air state, it's 6 CFM, which is pretty decent for a compressor this size. It's 100% duty cycle, so you could have this thing running all day. It's not going to hurt it, as long as it's not somewhere where it's going to overheat or something like that. So if you want to air up tires, you want to run some small air tools or something like that, that compressor is going to be the one to have. All right, so to get started, I've got my stopwatch ready to start on my phone. As soon as I start the compressor up, I'll start the stopwatch, and I'll put a screenshot up on the video here of it starting. And then we'll go back, and I'm going to start up my decibel meter, and we'll see the decibel reading of the sound of the compressor. I'll actually even shut the hatch, and we'll get a reading of it with the hatch shut. And then once it's the tanks are full and the compressor shuts off, then we'll check the stopwatch, and we'll see how long it takes. So here we go. So I've got the decibel meter going. Right back here on top, it's reading anywhere from 85 to 90. Get back over here from the front where the air holes are in the front. Looking at 91, 92. And if we open the hatch up, still going. Almost getting close to 4 minutes and she's still running, still building there. Alright, so finally shut off at 5 minutes and 42 seconds. So now we'll go ahead and shut this thing off. Pull all this tin work off the back here. I'm going to change out that compressor, and then we will see what the improvement is. Alright, so I got the tin work off the back. You can see the compressor's nestled in here pretty good. So the new one is, I think it's 2.5 inches longer and about a 1/2 inch taller. So I am going to have to look and see how that's going to fit in here. They recommend mounting it on that rubber, but this thing's right at the bottom of the deck lid right there. So let's get this one out, and then we will see how the other one fits. So here's one issue right off the bat. As I go to unhook the airline, I've got air leaking out here. I shouldn't. That means that my check valve's no good. This check valve is really important because you don't want all that head pressure against here constantly. Plus, they'll leak through the reeds if you're, if your compressor is weak. Fortunately, mine's not weak. I've never heard it leak through the reeds. But anyway, so I'll be changing this check valve at the same time when I go to mount the new compressor. See that? All right, so for removing this, first off, I took this off. If you're not familiar with what this is, it is a heater blanket, and there's a switch on the dash. It says INT heater, it's intake heater. And when it gets below 20 Fahrenheit, according to the TM, you turn that on. It'll heat this up to keep your check valve from freezing. It heats up the air cylinder down here in your rear steering so it doesn't freeze. It also turns on the toaster box on the intake to heat up the intake air. So I don't need this anymore because I live in sunny Southern California, and I doubt I will get in that cold of weather. I'll keep it just in case, you never know. And then so I took the air filter off, and then down in here, if you look, you can see it's got the 4 pedestal mounts. It's got the little rubber mounts down there, and those have a nut on each end. So I did do some measuring, and the other compressor is 9 inches high, and it looks like it's going to clear without a problem because the matting I'm putting on is actually thinner than that, so it's going to fit in here just fine. But anyways, to get these off, I'm just coming over here, pull that rubber up, try to get the light in there, and you'll see 4 nuts down here. Here's one of them. There's 4 of them, and you just take the nuts off those. I already took one off. Took a 11mm wrench, and I'll just spin those 4 nuts off, and I should be able to lift it out. Hopefully it'll fit out without fighting too much between the battery, the cross member, and the tank. From right now, it looks like it's gonna be close. Hopefully I don't have to move the tank. All right, that was real quick. Literally took me 10 minutes to get this far. Aside from stopping to film and stuff like that, but just 10 minutes of actual work. Fortunately, mine was real clean underneath. There's no underbody spray or rust or anything, and then that's just came right off. So let's lay this down over here, and I want to compare it to the new one. So that's the two compared. They're like laying next to each other. Let's see if the footprint's the same. Yeah, it's got the same footprint for bolt holes. That's great. And I'll have to pull these little rubbers off and then see about height. But according to their literature, this one is like a 1/2 inch taller, I think it was. So we'll see how that fits. But I mean, definitely you can see they said to ditch these. So if I don't use these, and I'm using this 5/8 matting, that's going to make up the difference right there, and it's still going to fit without a problem. Let's go length. They said it's 1.5 inches longer according to their specs. Come on, hard to move that on there. Yeah, you can see right here it's about 1.5 inches longer. So I'll pull this air filter back off of it, and then I will set it in there and just make sure it fits okay. If it does, they said to cut the horse stall matting to the same dimensions as the whole compressor unit, not just pads for under the feet, and that way that'll help to absorb some of the sound. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so it took a little bit of fidgeting just to figure out how to put it in here, but look, it's very simple. Just lift it up, swing it up and out this way, and that's it. It's a really good fit, actually. You can see how this thing fits beautiful in this 1161. And Royce did some measurements on his 1163, and it sounds like it's going to fit in his really well as, you know, also. And you can see right now it's not sitting on the rubber, but you can see we've got a decent distance right there before it's going to hit. So look, we've got about 3/4 of an inch, or maybe more, 7/8 of an inch clearance before, you know, to the top of this. So with that horse stall matting, it's going to raise it up 5/8 of an inch, so it's going to fit fine. So now I just need to cut out the rubber, lay it down in there. I'll have to mark it, drill it for holes, and then I'll dig up some bolts to bolt this in. It's going to be just a little tougher to install, because the other one's just the way the rubbers were mounted on here before. They held themselves in place. You didn't need to hold the bolts on top. You just spun the nuts. But this one does look a little easier. Looks like I can go straight down and get to the tops of the bolts from here. I'm just going to need someone to help me do it. Alex will be back in a little bit, and he'll be able to help me get that bolted down. So it also looks like right now they have this port plugged, and this port's open. So I'm going to need to pull the plug out of this side and put it in this side before I mount the compressor. So I can run the hose out this way. I'll put a 90° on it and run it out this way. I've had the same thing happen with the old compressors. They had either this port or this port open, and I've had them before where they were running off this port, and the hose that they used was one size fits all, and it would go along and it would hit the frame here and kink the hose, and it's this nylon tubing here would get kinked really bad. So when I find that, I always, you know, pull it off and move the plug to this one, and I put they have a 90° elbow here, and then this is a 90° elbow, so it goes like that. But this one's gonna be a little different, obviously, because we're gonna be pulling off this port here. But that's not a big deal, because I'm not gonna be using this. This hose here is a heat-proof hose. It's a nylon inside with stainless steel on it. These can handle the high heat of the compressor, but they want 5 feet on this one, so I'm not gonna use this. I'm getting rid of this giant oversized 3/4 inch check valve. I'll put a 1/2 inch check valve, and then I'm not sure what I'll do on the rest of the hose, since it's only, it looks like it's from here, I think it's 3/8 hose. I'll either put an adapter here and continue running it with the nylon hose, but I'll probably do it over here somewhere. So anyways, we'll work that out in a few minutes. Let me get the compressor bolted down, and then we will go from there. All right, I got that marked up. Black ink on black rubber. That's really smart, but what else are you gonna do? See? First hole right there. See, as you punch it through there, the rubber comes up through, and then it comes up out this hole on the side. Pretty cool. Only way to put holes in rubber. Alright, so my 4 holes. Yep, I did them in the right spot. And if anybody's interested, I have some little rubber plugs for sale. Put these on eBay. Never know. So come inside here, and it's got the harness here for the compressor. It's got those little plastic clips, and they're at least, well, probably both are going to be in the way, but at least this one's going to be in the way. So I'll get a tool and I'll pop that out of there, and I'll vacuum out this dirt, and I'll lay the rubber in there, and we'll set the compressor in and get it all lined up. All right, so I've got the compressor in. I have it bolted down. I have some time-lapse footage that I'm sure you guys just got done watching, showing us fighting that quite a bit. I ended up using two 5/16 bolts, you know, one on this end here, the compressor, both those mounts have 5/16, and I ended up going to 1/4" bolts on this side, just because I didn't do a very good job trimming this rubber mat. It was a little fat, and it was pushing up against the legs of this tank. And instead of pulling everything back out, I just went to a smaller bolt, which is fine because the old compressor only had 1/4" bolts. I used washers on the bottom and also nylocks on the bottom, you know, locking nuts. So now I just need to hook up the, also I ended up pulling this battery out just because it made it easier to get to these back bolts, because it was easier with this end because I was able to move the compressor around to get them in. And when I got to this side, I was just fighting it too much, so I pulled this battery out real quick. It's bolted in good. It's on that rubber mat. And I don't have a Deutsch connector crimper that'll crimp these bigger Deutsch connectors pins. I can only do the smaller ones. So I'm just gonna take this Deutsch connector off and I'll just connect these wires direct, and then we'll go that route on it. So now I just have to install the hose and then put all the tin work back on, and then we can test it some more. So as part of the install on this, they give you this hose. I think it's 5 foot or 6 foot long, and they say that you need this hose. It's a cooling hose, so the air coming out of this is it comes out pretty hot, especially once you get, you know, above 100 psi and you start getting near 150 psi. This is a cooling hose, so it'll just the length of this hose, as the air runs through this, it'll cool the air quite a bit before it gets to the air dryer system. The old ones just had, you know, they have the check valve down here, and they just run the nylon hose. And from what they say, just this nylon hose won't be able to handle the heat coming out of this. So I'll run this hose here. I'll kind of route it around a little bit inside the back here, give it a good area to cool down. All right, so I've got the electrical connected. I ran the air line. This is that 6 foot air line. I just put a 45 here. I couldn't find a 90-degree elbow, but a 45 is better anyways. There's less restriction. It's odd that, you know, the truck was built with 1/2" hose, but I guess that's just how Growler did it. With the compressor, they gave you 1/4" fittings and 3/8 hose. Sorry about the camera angle there. But so I just wrapped up their 6 feet of hose like that. I connected it over here to a new check valve. It's a 1/2" check valve, and I just put a connector on it to go to the push lock here. Just easier than trying to go in here and change all this around again. And this way I can still unhook it quickly if I need to. I started it up without the covers on, and this thing is actually louder without the tin work on this thing. But I'm going to put the tin work on it now, and then we'll do a decibel reading and we'll see what it does. All right, so I've got this completely in. I have the tin work back on. So I started it up, and it seems like it's a little bit louder, but it's a different kind of a noise. It's more of a deeper, throaty sound. So hopefully it's going to build air a lot faster. If it doesn't, then I just wasted some money and not too happy. But if it builds air real fast, I can put up with it being a little louder. At least it doesn't sound all rattly like the old one. It's just kind of a deeper kind of a vibration. So here's what it took to fill up last time. All right, it was 5.42 seconds. So let's reset that. Let me go ahead and start the truck. I'm going to turn on the compressor. Let's start. Now let's go to just as loud. 90. Right at 90. Over here, 94, 95. So the decibels are about the same. It's a deeper sound to it. But now we're going to just see how fast it is. All right, well, that was a little faster, almost 2 minutes faster, so I guess I gained something there. I'm going to take it outside and see what it sounds like outside of the shop, because in here it's going to echo a little bit and be a little louder. So I will take it out there, do a couple decibel readings. I'm going to add it in the video just after, right here. All right, so I took that stall matting out, and I I didn't actually put rubber mounts on it. I actually went and bought some that are like a silicone. They're actually softer than the rubber ones. They only had 3 in stock, so I used 3 of those and then one of the original rubber mounts from the old pump. It's a lot quieter already, and I don't have the covers on yet. So I'm gonna throw the covers on right now. Just one thing I want to show that I did here. I've been fighting these stupid things that come with like a long through bolt that goes all the way through with a nut on the bottom. And they're pain in the butt to hold the hood up and to get the nuts on the bottom. So we just put rib nuts in here. So this is gonna be so much easier to throw this cover on now. All right, so I've got the compressor completely installed. I took out that horse stall matting and I put it on just the silicone little rubber mounts, and it's pretty quiet now. I had the old original compressor, which is pretty loud. This one's a lot quieter. It's probably about as loud as the one they put in the iCube update, but that one isn't as fast as this one. This one's a higher CFM, so I think it's worth doing it because now it's a lot quieter and it's quicker. So what I'm going to do is just show on the stopwatch the recovery time. I'm going to lower the suspension all the way down, and then I'm going to raise the suspension up, so it's going to fill all 4 airbags, and we'll see what the recovery time is on the air compressor for that. So first up, let's lower the suspension. Go down to the squatting mode. Now we're going to raise the truck up and fill up the airbags. And as soon as the compressor starts, I'll start to stop the stopwatch on my phone. Alright, so it was about 50 seconds to recover from that, so that's a lot faster than it was before. So I'm really happy with this. I think it was worthwhile putting this new compressor in. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And if you haven't hit the like button, please hit that like button. And I appreciate you guys watching. Have a good day.